Hello. In this video, we need to understand some of the important tools as an essential introduction before start using them during our rigging. So before start rigging your character, you need to be aware of some of the important techniques and the important tools we will use definitely in this character or any other character. So uh, from this menu sets, we need to switch from modeling or any other menu to rigging. So now we have these tools, we have these drop menus which contain the skeleton, and under skeleton we have the very important basic tool, which is create joints. Click here and we will notice that our cursor now switch it to be this plus look. Now we have this grid here, so click on it. We have now one joint. If we click another click, we now have another joint which is now a child for the first one. Click. When we finish, we need to hit enter. Okay, if we grab another one here and try to click on the air here, we can't create any joints because joints need a grid behind. So if we wanted this joints to be in a vertical position, we need to write it or draw it from the side view or the front view, of course, but I think side view will be our choice. So now we have these hierarchy in a vertical look. All right, okay. Now if we started to observe what we have inside our outliner here, we have this very first one we drawn before, and it called joint 1 as it's our first joint we started with, and we have this plus here. If we click here, we will start to see the joint 2, which is this one, and this joint 2 is a child for joint 1, which is a parent to another one which is joint 3, and we have our final one joint 4, and we have this step 1 which is useless. Actually, this one actually doesn't manipulate anything, but we have it in the hierarchy anyway, but it will not control anything because the controller will be in the first one here, the joint 4, but this one joint 5 can't manipulate nothing. It will manipulate nothing. It's a tip of our hierarchy. Anyway, as you can see now, we have this hierarchy. Every single one is a child to the previous one until we have our first one. Our first one, usually we name it root, which is the first grandpa for all these hierarchy. When we select it, we already selecting the entire hierarchy here. All right, okay. So what if okay, I'm telling now that every single joint is a child to the previous. That means we can break this relationship if we wanted to. So if I select this one and from edit and hit unparent, I can break this connection, and this one now is out of the tree. If I select this one and hit shift P or another unparent one, or G in our keyboard to repeat our last order, now we have 5 separate joints not connected to each other. So what if I wanted to make this one is the root, not the first one? So simply I will start to reconnect everything again. But with the consideration, I want this one to be the parent, the root. So I will select the child first, then the parent, and hit P in our keyboard, or hit parent. Where is it? Parent. Okay, now I want to select this one and make it a child to this one here. So now we have this one as a new root for this branch. So now I want this one to be the root to the entire hierarchy. So I will start to select this one, come here and hit P in our keyboard. This one, hit P. This is the usual parent and child, if you know it before, and I believe so because it's essential Maya information, it's not rigging information. If I want this cube to be a parent to this sphere, so I have to select that child, then my last selection will be the parent, and I will hit P. So now the child, which is the sphere, is a child to the cube, which is the parent, and now the parent will manipulate its child, which is the sphere. So I can now move it, rotate it, or even scale it. That's what I can do now with this. If I want to scale it, if I want to rotate it, and if I want to move it. Okay, right, perfect. I don't say that if I want to reroute, I have to disconnect everything. This is an introduction to the behavior of the joint itself. Okay, I am explaining the introduction, the essential of the rigging before I start rigging our character. Great. Now, what if I wanted, for example, to do what I did, but without break every single one and reconnect every single one? So, okay, I will click here, and I decided, okay, I changed my mind. I want to get back this joint to be the root. So I will select it simply and go from in skeleton and hit reroute skeleton. When I hit it, Maya will do what I did before, but instantly. Maya will break everything and reconnect everything, and it will make this joint to be the root of the entire hierarchy. This is one. Okay, another thing I need to cover here. What if I now selected this joint and I decided to move it here? Okay, if I started to move it, it will take its child here. But what if I don't want to do that? I want to stick this one here, this guy here. I want it to be still here, but just want to move this joint. So I have to hold D in my keyboard and start to move. So that will make the joint to be free to be moved without moving its child here. So like here, for example, if I now decided to move this one and start to do that, this one will select all the children here and move it. But that's what I don't want to do. So if I want to do that and want to move this joint separately, I will hold D and start to move it, right? So this is the second important thing I want to share with you. Another thing which is, another thing here, if you started to notice that these joints are very, very small and you want for some reason to make them bigger, looking bigger, that will not affect anything. That will not affect your mesh, your rig, your influence, whatever, it will not affect anything. It's just a display. A display. You want to see the joint in a bigger shape. So as it is display, so you need to go here and under display menu and go to animation, and because rigging is connected with somehow to animation, so you will go to animation, and here it is, joint size. Click here and you can start to make them in the shape you want. And I repeat, this is will not affect anything, it's just a display, right? Okay, close. But for some reasons, for some another reason, you, as you noticed now, this made all the joints in your viewport to start to be big or small. So what if you wanted, maybe for some reason, whatever, you want this one, just this one, to be smaller or bigger or whatever. So if you want to do that, you can select it, and inside that channel box here, you can go to a radius and start to make it bigger, maybe, or make it smaller, maybe, as you wish. You can do that separately, individually, for every single joint, if you want. Right, okay. So, all right, okay. So now let's jump to another essential important information. What if I now started to create this hierarchy? We have something called axis orientation. And this axis orientation, we need to be sure it's in the right way. What is the axis orientation? If you close, if you make your eye close to this one here, you will start to see this little axis. As you can see now, this direction goes in this direction, and this one goes in this direction, which is perfect. Because every single one now pointing to the next. This one pointing to the next. This one is X, the red, pointing to the next. This one pointing to the next. This one pointing to the next, and which is that will allow you, if you now started to open this hierarchy, and you can instead of click here, shift click to open the entire hierarchy. And now if I select all of them now and decided now to rotate them together, so I should see all of them rotating on the right direction. So if I select this one, and started to rotate them on the z-axis, so maybe a double click on the z on orient, and let's switch it to world. Yeah. My manipulator must has the axis orientation to be world. So now we will see it. Now if I want to rotate them in this direction, I can rotate all of them in the right way. And why I am mentioned this, because sometimes you forget. All of us, or actually all of us, sometimes forget to reposition this joint. Let's say that this joint now didn't draw in the right way, and you want to fix it. So to fix it, let's say this one. To fix it, don't ever use the move tool. Don't ever use the move tool, because if you did that, let's see that I want it to be a little bit here. So I did it. I used the move tool. What did that do? It broke the axis orientation. The axis orientation now doesn't pointing to this one. It's pointing to the old position here. And that's, let me be honest with you, it's not that big deal. Sometimes it's okay. Um, but sometimes it could affect your movement. So the better way to do that is using a rotation, not move tool. So how I now make this guy here to be here? I want to adjust it and I want to preserve the axis orientation. So I will select this one this time. I rotate it a little bit here. So yeah, it selected everything. So I will select this guy here and make it a little bit like this. Using rotation preserved the axis orientation. All the axis orientation now is pointing well in the right way, except this one. I will make it like this, and it will also be in the correct direction. So this is another thing which is important to mention. Another thing we need to understand, which is we can manipulate our joints with selecting directly the joints and start to play with it. Sometimes we do that, which call FK, which is the meaning is forward kinematics. Forward. For this one will it will go forward. So I will select this one, shift this one, and start to animate. That called FK, forward kinematics, because I started to select it from the beginning and move forward. Okay? Forward means the forward of the hierarchy itself. But they invented to us something called IK, which is the inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics. So let's see what it is. I will click on it, click here, and click here. That's created something called IK handle. And this IK handle, now if I want to start to play with this leg, I will select the IK itself. I will not select the joint anymore. I want to select it. And as you can see, when I started to use the FK kinematics, the forward kinematics, I started to select it from the first beginning. But now I'm selecting it from the end here. So that for that reason it's called inverse kinematics, and let's do it. So it will create a secondary animation to the knee, which is between the 2 points here. I clicked here and here. So the joint in between them will start to have this secondary movement, this secondary reaction for my movement, as you can see here. So it's amazing system, and it's easy to manipulate and easy to deal with. Now let's jump to another thing which is also very important. Usually when we play with our rigging, we don't ever selecting directly our joints or selecting directly our IK system. So what we should do, for that reason they taught us, let's correct our English, my bad English, sorry. They taught us to create a manipulator this manipulator calling controller, a rigging controller, which can be anything. Usually we use curve, circle, or whatever. So this circle will be the controller of this one. Let's roughly put it here now. I am not connecting anything. I'm just showing you with eyeball. So now to start to select it, we need to select everything. We will just select our controller here. All right. So we need something to connect this controller to connect it with the IK. Right? Okay, great. So all right, okay. We have something called constrain, which live also under rigging drop menu, constrain. So we have constrain with the move tool, which is point constraint. We have another constraint called orient, which is a constraint to the rotation. And we have another one with scale. So okay, let's see what is the difference between them. Let's delete all of the, or maybe I will hide them for now. Maybe you will say now, yeah, okay, we have something called parent and the child. So why we, instead of using the parent and the child, the normal parent and the child, why we using something called constraint? Yeah, there is two reasons actually for that. Sometimes we want the parent, which is controlling the child, to control it in just specific axis. Now if I made this one to be a child, the normal child, the usual child, this parent, if I did that, this guy will control this in the move tool, rotation, and scale, which I maybe for some reason, and this reason will be a lot inside the rigging, I just wanted to manipulate the movement, just the movement. I don't want to manipulate it in the rotation or scale. I just wanted to in the move tool. So they invented another thing, which is the constraint. I will parent them, but with constraint tool, not the parent and child tool. This is one info. Another thing, another reason. For some reason, maybe if I wanted to, in the parent and the child, the normal connection, the normal parent and the child, what if in this ball is moving and I animate them, and for some reason I wanted to disconnect the relationship and make the sphere to continue without dragging its child, its children. So I have to hit a key to this relationship. So at this point, maybe in frame 30, I want the relationship to be on, and after 30, I want this relationship to disconnect it. So I have to put key, but where I can key this relationship. This relationship is non-keyable. We called it non-keyable relationship. It doesn't allow us to key it. So you have a parent or you don't. From the first beginning of your animation, you have this relationship is on or off. You can't switch it in between the animation in somewhere during your animation. You can't break it. You can't. Where is the key? What is the attribute I have to key it? It's non-keyable relationship. But constraint is a keyable. So how? Let's select this guy now unparented, and let's see the difference or how we can deal with the constraint. As you remember, the normal parent and the child, we have to select the parent as our last selection. This one was a parent, so it will be in the last. I have to select the children first, even if I have many children. So we need to select all of them. Then our last selection will be the parent and hit P. So now we have it. We have the relationship. But in the constraint, we always select the leader first. So selecting this leader first, then let's name it as a child. It's not a child, but let's say name it. So what do you want? You want this guy to follow this one in the move tool or rotation tool or a scale. What do you want? So you need to decide. So it's of course it based on the situation itself, but I now say that I want it to be parent or leader in the just move tool, which is point. So I will click point. Oh, what is this? Okay, no problem. Let's see what happened. First of all, in the P cube, in this cube, which is the children, I will name it children. Okay, we have now something here as a plus. Okay, let's first select the leader or the parent and move it. Oh, it takes the cube, it drag it's manipulating it. But what if I wanted to rotate it so the cube still without anything? What if I wanted to scale it? The cube still in its shape. But the cube now has something here which is interesting, something called P cube point constraint. And the cube now, if we notice it here, so it has some connection here with the blue color, and this blue color pointing to a constrained relationship, a constrained node, which is this node. We have a node this time. In the parent and the child, the normal parent and the child, we don't have any node. Inside this node, we have here something called P sphere 1W0, which is 1, and this little guy is scalable. And because it's 1 now, so if we select the sphere, the constraint is active. We can drag our guy, we can drag our cube. But if we now selected this one and switch it to 0, we selected the parent again, which is the sphere, and now we could break this relationship. And as I mentioned, this one is keyable. We can click here to make a key, sometime in 1, sometime in 0, whatever we want. So these are a main differences between the normal parent and child and the constraint. Okay, I did some undos, and now let's go to the point constraint option. But before that, why in the first place? Why this one go here? Because the point constraint always done with the pivot. So the sphere, the pivot point of the sphere, it's in the middle, and this one also has a center pivot here. So the pivot go to the pivot. The pivot will be snapped to the pivot. The relationship will happen on the pivot itself. But that cost you that this cube now left its position and go here. So what if you don't want that? You want to make the relationship in the exact same positions here. So you need to select the leader, shift select the what is this word? What is the word? Okay, that children, and go here, and we have something called maintain offset. If I clicked here, you now telling Maya, hey Maya, please don't offset any geometry to the leader. Please just connect them as they are. So you will hit add. So now we have this blue and we have the node here. Everything is okay, and this is free. Now start to drag this one, but it can't rotate it or scale it. So what if I wanted to do that? So okay, I will select both of them and go to constrain and go to orient and click orient. So now if I now did you notice that the rotation also took some things here? So if now I try to rotate it, that's what I will get. I will manipulate them. So what if I want the scale too? So I will go to scale, click. So now, but in the scale, okay, edit reset setting. Let's make it in the default. And I will hit add. As you can see, this one got smaller. This one got smaller. When I hit scale, this one got smaller. Why? Because now the leader with this scale 2.082. What is this? This one is bigger. This one is bigger. It's 3 blah blah blah. So it needs to fit the leader. So I will select this one, shift select this one, and hit scale. If I want to do that in the same, so I need to open the option box and maintain offset add. So it will just make a relationship without changing the scale. As you can see now, it responded correctly. And we have 3 node constraint here. Point, orient, scale. Every single one has this one. If I wanted for some reason to break the effect here. Great, okay, right. What is okay? Something you need to be aware of. Okay, let's. What if now you okay? That's beautiful, but I changed my mind and I don't want them to be connected anymore, and I don't have any info to be undone, because I closed Maya, and the next day when I opened my machine, opened Maya, and I realized that I did a fatal mistake, and I want to step back of what I did. So what I have to do, how I can break this connection? Okay, you can do with many ways actually. You can simply select these nodes and hit delete. So now it's a free of anything. You can do that. You can select this guy and go to edit, delete by type, constraints, click. So it's exactly what I did before. Selected the nodes, deleted all of them. And one bad solution, which I don't recommend, that you can select all of them, right click here and go to break connections. Break connections. So they are free of each other, yeah, but you still have these nodes here, which is a trash, because they are not doing anything. So eventually you need to delete them to clean your outliner, right? So you can do that with these ways. One last thing, my recommendation and any tutor recommendation before doing any kind of constraint, you need to freeze your transformation. This is not the right look. This is not the right look. They need to be zero. All of them need to be freezed. So I will select both of them and go to modify, freeze transformation. This one is now 0. This one 0. Now this is ideal position and ideal numbers to start to be connected. So what if you know exactly that you want to make this guy to be parent to this one in the point and orient, both of them, you know that. So instead of doing that on 2 steps, point then orient, to do this you can click on parent. So parent will make that translate and rotate. That is the only difference. It's under your choice. You can do this, or but there is actually that's not a scale, because this one doesn't scale now. It doesn't scale. Look careful, it doesn't scale. It's just moving because parent will make the what to say that it will make the movement center of mass inside this sphere. So when this sphere starts to be big, it has to preserve the distance between them. So you have the choice to make parent or point and orient. Alright? And how to apply this info in this situation. So now I need to make this one to be exactly on the center here. So I will select it and hold V in my keyboard, middle mouse button, drag it here. So it's ready now to be connected. But before doing any connection, do you remember? Do you remember what we need to do? Yeah, exactly. We need to freeze them. So freeze transformation, everything now is freezed. And now what do you want? Start to think. I want this guy to be alternative way to this selection, because we know exactly that we don't touch the IK or the joint during the animation. We do everything from this guy, because as you can see, this IK now has some info here. This info will not be freezed. Even if you try to freeze it, you will destroy everything. And even after that, you still have some numbers. So we don't freeze it. But this one is freeze. So we can, in alternative way, because always we need to, for some reason, after we do this motion and in the next day I realized that, oh my god, this pose is terribly bad, but I don't have any undo. So what I do? So, and even if I selected this guy and hit 0, it will not be back to the original anymore. Oh my god, I destroyed my rig. So yeah, for that reason, we don't do that ever. We make a controller with 0. It's able to be 0. So now I will select the leader here. Then the IK, I can select it from here and hit Control in my keyboard to select it from the outliner as a easier way, and go to Constrain, point. Yeah, point, just point. Because this one will not be ever rotated. This one will not be ever. What if I wanted to rotate it like this? I can't. So we can't use this. We can't. I can't manipulate the joints well, as you can see. I can't do this. It's not the right thing. So IK always to the movement. Okay, right? So I will select this guy, shift, and also I already did that. So let's test it. Let's select this one here and start to move it. So now back to our previous example. I did something wrong. Next day I discovered, and I just want to make it to the original pose. So yeah, it's easy. I will select this, hit 0, everything will be back. That's simple. So always we use controllers. We don't ever playing with the joints or playing with the IK. Okay? Okay. In the IK itself, I will delete it. And if I return it back to skeleton, create IK, we have two kinds of IK. We have single chain solver, we have rotation plan solver. So what is the difference between them? Right, okay. To make a shortcut to that, to be easier to remember, rotation plan will be to the knees and elbows. It must be to the knees and elbows, and I will say why. Single chain, it could be for anything. It could be for the elbow and knees, but without very important feature, or for the toes, or for whatever I want. So what is the difference between them? Let's return back to our rotation plan, click here. So as you can see, when I used IK with rotation plan solver, we have this little circle here, and when we select the IK now, we have something called pull vector. This pull vector, when we start to play with the pull vector X, you can start to see that I can manipulate the knee itself. Okay? So I will delete it now, and I will create another one with single chain. Click here. Oh, what is this? We have a pull vector. Yeah, we have, but it's nothing. If I started now to play with it, I will get nothing. So why they put it here? Actually, I don't know why we have it here, but it's empty. It's empty attribute. All right. So usually in the knee and elbows, we stick with the rotation plan solver to have this one here. So let's now select this guy, shift this guy, constrain, point. So now I can do this. Yeah, this is great. But what if I wanted to play with this? If I want to make something like this? So how I can do it? You told us that we can't touch it. So I must have a controller. Yeah. You can have a separate controller if you want, or also you can use this guy to control the joint itself. Yeah, you can do that. You can select this one, shift this one. I want to mention something important. Rigging is art. Rigging is experience. So yeah, sometimes you will see riggers do method. Sometimes you will see another rigger do another method. But in the end, all of them do the same. They making a system to control the character. Eventually, they success to do that. So it doesn't matter what is the method, what is the method that the rigger used to approach the right rigging. So yeah, sometimes you say, okay, I see a controller in a cubic. I sometimes you see a cubic and a circle. So yeah, the cubic will controlling this, and the circle will controlling this. Yeah, for me, I love to simplify the things. So I can use this one, shift this one, select this one, and go to constrain orient. And even for orient, I love to maintain offset and hit add. So now I will select this controller, do this step, and if in any time I want to make the leg here, let's make it here, let's make it here, so I can do that. Good. Okay. So what about the pull vector? What about the pull vector? Because if I want to access the pull vector now, I could access it when I selected the IK handle, which you kept say, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it during your work, don't touch it during your animation. I mean, we don't touch it during our animation. We just select the controllers. So, but now I had to select it. I selected to access the pull vector because I want to manipulate my knee. So how I can do that? Yeah, perfect. This is a great question. We need now to create another. I will just use circle for now. Yeah, I will do other shapes when we start to rig our character, but I am just in this video explaining the essentials, okay? So I will select this one here, and I will hit V in my keyboard to drag it here. Then I will drag it here, and maybe this one, this distance, this distance, this distance, whatever distance, something like this. All right, and I want this to manipulating the pull vector in this IK. So yeah, should I select it and go here and constrain it? Yeah, definitely I will do that, but can I do that with these? Look, no, I can't. I can't. Don't ever forget this. You need to freeze transformation, select in the first row leader, then the IK, go to constrain. We have something called pull vector, which is just for this purpose. Pull vector. Now let's say that this guy wanted to make this position, but the knee in the wrong direction. So I will select it and do that. And maybe also I want to do that. Yeah. Oh my God, this is a bad thing. I want to zero everything. Okay, select your controller, do this simply. Zero, enter. Everything will go to the original default pose without any problem. All right. Another thing which is important we need to discuss in this video something very important called driver and driven. So what is driver and driven? Driver and driven is an attribute drive attributes. One attribute will drive other attributes, some other attributes. So I will start to give some base examples. Let's say this cube here want to manipulate this cube here. So, and I will select both of them and freeze transformation. It's a cleaning everything. It's when you do animation, my advice to you to always your start point must freeze. Your start point must be freezed. All right. So what I want to do now, I want this cube when it's move in the y-axis. I want this sphere to go in the z-axis, minus z-axis. Okay, that's what I want to do. So now y attribute in the cube will drive the z attribute on the sphere. In order to do that, we need to go to animation. Under animation, we have something called key. A drop menu with this name, key, and we have something called set driven key. Set. Click on set to open this window. This window now say I am the driver, I am the driven, and we have these 4 buttons. One of them we know, close, and one of them load driven, load driver, and key, which I can't click on it for some reason. So now where is our driver? Yeah, this one is our driver. So I need to select it. Load driver. Now this one is our driven, so load driven. We have these. Now I want to specify the attributes, the driver and the driven attribute. For that reason, this key still dimmed. We can't click on it. Because there is what is the driver attribute? What is the driven attribute? Maya didn't know yet. So yeah, okay, in the B cube, I want the translate Y to drive the translate Z here. Yeah, finally, we have this key now. So what is this key represented for? What will happen when I click key now? If I clicked key, I didn't. If I clicked key, I will say to Maya, when the cube on the Y in translate Y is 0, this sphere must be 0 in translate Z. That means key. That's what the key will do. So hit key. Now another thing we noticed, the translate Z on the sphere has this little dark blue color, and this dark blue color represent a key, but the driver and the driven key, because as you know, as maybe you saw before many times, that the normal keyframe is red, but the driver and the driven keyframe is blue, dark blue, because we saw another blue before, a light blue before. So now we set it the start point. When I be 0, you will be 0. All right, okay. But when I be 10, I want you to be minus 15. Yeah, okay, great. So what I do? What I have to do? Key. Put a key here. to make Maya understand that key. So now I set a key in the start, set a key on the end, so now I can manipulate it. But what if when I reach the minus y, so the sphere will stop. What if I reach the 10 and go after 10, so it will stop. There is nothing. There is nothing after 10 or before 10. Click here. So what if I wanted to limit my movement? Because now I have to enter the value in the beginning or at the end. And I don't want to do that. I just want to play with my screen. But when I play with my screen, my fingers can't be precise to stop in the 0 or stop on 10. So I want to limit the y-x. How I can do that? I will select this guy here, go to the attribute editor, go to the first tab, the PQ1 tab, which contains the transform information, because we have another tabs. This tab contains the render information. This tab contains the input information, this information. So we have to go to the first one, which have the transform information, and we have folder here called limit information. When we open it, we have 3 little subfolders: translate, rotate, scale. What is bothering us now? Is it the rotation or scale? No, it's the translation. So I need to open the translate. And what is the specific attribute we are dealing with? It's the y. So I want to go to translate y, click on minimum and put the minimum value, which is 0, and go to the maximum and put the maximum value, which is 10. Now, even if I wanted to go beyond 10, I can't. If I want to go under 0, I can't. I'm trying, but I can't. It's locked. It's limited. So it's perfect now to work without any problem. Another thing, when we start to prepare this to our animator and deliver it in the right look, so the animator, when he select the cube, he will not try this X, he will not try this X, he will not try this X, he will not try nothing but the Y. So we need to look, not limit, look the rest of the attributes, all of these attributes except the translate Y. So I will select all of them, right click now and hit look selected. So even if the animator try to move it on the X, he can't. Z can't. Rotation can't. It's dimmed already. Scale can't. He just have one way, the Y, and it's already limited to the maximum value we set and the minimum value. If we wanted to hide these, so we have something called hide selected. We also could click on look and hide selected at once. So if we wanted to unlock selected, return it back to the normal, right click and hit look and hide selected. Now they are gone. We just have the translate. Oh my God! What if I wanted to get them back? What should I do? It's very simple. select it, go to Windows, go to General Editors. I hope I remember. I hope I remember. General Editors and channel box. No, channel control. Yeah, channel control from here. Click on it. Now we have the non-cable hidden, everything hidden here, and we just have the translate Y. I can also move it here to be hidden, but actually I just want to get back the translate Z and X, so I want to go to rotate XYZ, and I will hold control to add these to my selections. And where is the translate? Yeah, here is it. And I will hit move, so move them here back to here. And if I want to unlock them, right click and unlock everything, return it back to the original, even if I wanted to release the limitation. And even if I wanted to break this connection, I will click here, right click, break connection. So everything now, return it back to the beginning. So now let's now take another example. What if I told you I have this one here? Let's put the pivot holding D and X to put the pivot here. Control D, holding J to rotate it here, and hit Shift D, Shift D. We have these 4 balls, and I will freeze the transformation for all of them. And now I will create a circle here. And this is a task. Okay, freeze. Now I'm giving you a task, and I told you, hey, please, I want you to use this circle as a driver for these spheres, 4 spheres, and I want you to rotate them. Make a driver attribute to rotate them. But I don't want you to use the translation or the rotation. Don't use it, or even the visibility. So you will start to be confused. What is this? What is this guy? He asked me to use the circle, but he also told me to don't use none of these attributes. So what is the attribute I will select? I need to pick one attribute as a driver for the rest of the spheres. So what I have to do? Yeah, should I bring attribute from my home or something? Yeah, you will bring you actually will bring attribute from your home. You will select it and go to modify and hit add attribute. Yeah, you will add a new one, entire new one. Add attribute, called it whatever you want, whatever. It's your attribute. You bring it from your home driver, and you can put a minimum and maximum, something like this limitation we did before. So you can add minimum and maximum. So okay, I will make the minimum 0, maximum 10, and I will hit OK. So now I have this driver, and definitely because he asked me to don't use all of these, so I will right click on them and hit look and hide selected, so just I have the driver. Great. Now I will go to under animation here, key, set driving key set. I will select this guy and I will load it as a driver, select all the rest of them and load them as a driven. And I simplified it to you. Here is our driver and here is rotate Y, I believe, yeah? Yeah, Y. So we selected the Y. Now I want to hit key. But I didn't, okay. I just want to revise something with you. Here is the circle. This driver now is empty. It doesn't do anything. It's zero. It's not zero. It's useless. It's empty. And we want to fill it. So on 0, I want these spheres to be 0, 2. Yeah. Great. Key. When I hit key now, so I set the 0 driver to 0 rotate Y for the 4 spheres. Key. And let's select this. When I be 10, I want you guys to rotate on maybe 160. Key. So now I set the driver to manipulate these. This is the driver and the driven, simply. One last example before ending this introduction video. I can, my friend, I can make a driver and a driven on the same object if I wanted. It's extreme example, but just to make you understand what the powerful of the driver and the driven. So now let's select it and hit OK. I prefer to open this window and be sure that you are not select anything. When you do that, it will open empty. So what if you was selecting something here? Accidentally you was selected. So when you open it, it will be set in, it will be load in the driven. This is not a problem actually. This is not a problem because you can reload. So actually I want this sphere to be the driven. So we have something here, but we will hit load driven. So it will be replaced with the new loading I did. Actually, we don't need it. Now I want this to be also as a driver. And now I want the translate Y to what? Okay, Z. To drive the rotate Z. So when I be 0, I want it to be 0. Okay, key. And when I be maybe 20, I want you to be what? Minus 5,000 maybe. Key. Let's test it. Let's click on wallet. So that's what I can do. I make a driver and a driven in the same object if I wanted, because the definition of driver and the driven, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, I told you what is a driver and the driven. The driver is and the driven is we have one attribute, drive attributes. So whatever this attribute was in a different objects, or in the same object, or in whatever. It's that simple. At attribute, drive attributes. That's it, without any conditions. So I hope this video was useful for you, and I like to record an introduction to the main info and main tools we will use. Yeah, I could jump directly to the character and start put the joints, IKs, constrain, and just talking. Do that with talking, but that will not be the right way to learn what is going on. What if I have another situation? What if? So yeah, anyway, I hope you like it, and be prepared to the next video. Bye bye.